and seeing what next year's elections could potentially look like. And take a look at this. We've got you covered from top to bottom. WDBM's Lex Juarez and Christy Matino are on the ground in Virginia at events for Terry McAuliffe and Glenn Youngkin. We will check back in with them in just a second. Stay tuned for that. But first, let's take a look at that very big race on the ballot tonight. Two names at the top of the ballot if you are a Virginia voter and you went to your election polling place today. Terry McAuliffe and Glenn Youngkin. Terry McAuliffe, obviously a familiar name for most people here in the DMV region. He was governor of Virginia from 2014 to 2018. He has had a lifetime in the Democratic Party. He's been a fundraiser for Bill and Hillary Clinton for several decades, and he was endorsed by the current governor of Virginia, Ralph Northam, before the primary this year at this meeting.
And we have to talk about Glenn Youngkin, former private equity CEO, making a surprising surge in this race. He defeated 6 other nominees in the state's Republican primary earlier this year, and he's vying to become Virginia's first Republican governor since Bob McDonnell left office in 2014. So a lot of excitement tonight. A
lot of excitement indeed. We're actually going to talk about Terry McAuliffe in a second, but first up is Glenn Youngkin, the political newcomer, the former private equity giant turned Republican nominee for governor of Virginia. He is a boots on the ground, morning in America type Republican who was endorsed by former President Donald Trump, but who has also kept a safe distance from the former president so as to not lose support from that critical swing vote in Virginia. WDBM's Lex Juarez is tagging along with the Youngkin team in Chantilly tonight. Lex, I know that you are there right now. The polls have just closed in the Commonwealth. How are things looking for the political newcomer? What's happening behind you there, and when are we expected to actually see him address the crowd?
Yeah, as you said, the polls just closed, and with the polls closed, making their way in here for the watch party to watch those results come in. They had some music starting to play here just a few minutes ago, and of news turned on, and they are ready to watch those results come in. It is high energy in here, people excited, but even more than that, and like you mentioned, they're excited to hear Glenn Youngkin come out and speak as those results are starting to come in. Of course, we can expect him to talk about his top priorities, which include election integrity. He wants to cut taxes. He wants to be more supportive of law enforcement in the state of Virginia, and he has also made a the topic of education. He says he's going to ban critical race theory in the state. It's, the topic of education in general is something that has helped him to become favored with voters, specifically parents who are not happy with the Democratic nominee who said that parents should not have a say in what is taught to their kids in school. Of course, that helping Youngkin to become this contender that he is today for the governor of Virginia. Now, like you mentioned, it would be a huge deal for the GOP if he were to be elected as governor. It would be the first time since 2009 that a Republican candidate won a statewide election in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So, lots at stake here tonight, and people here are excited and confident and excited to see what's going to happen as these numbers start coming in.
Yeah, so mathematically, if all Democrats went out and vote, Lex, tonight, then no question Terry McAuliffe is going to win. But you have this political newcomer, Glenn Youngkin, who got a huge endorsement at the very beginning of his campaign, former President Donald Trump, and then got another endorsement from a different type of Republican earlier today, Maryland Governor Larry Hogan. Talk about the difference in those endorsements, what it means to get endorsed by President Donald Trump, who lost Virginia by 10 points in the presidential election last year, and then another endorsement from a different kind of Republican, Larry Hogan, earlier today.
Right, and before I mention those endorsements, I want to kind of pedal back to what you said at the beginning of your question about all the Democrats coming out to vote. And, one of Youngkin's big last pushes of this campaign and some commercials and stuff that have come out have been Democrats saying that they were going to vote for Youngkin instead of McAuliffe. And that was, kind of his last push here as, as his campaign was releasing new commercials. So that's thing that he did here right at the end of this election, and as early voting was going on, they had 1 million people come out to vote early. That ended just this last Saturday, and then of course the polls all day today, and 100% on those numbers yet, as they're just now starting to come in. But when you mention those endorsements, Maryland Governor Larry Hogan giving him that endorsement today, that's huge for the DMV region, as DC, Maryland, and Virginia, they all work very closely together, the two governors of the states, and of course Mayor Bowser, working together to make sure that living and off driving, to and from each of the three jurisdictions. And even though he has this endorsement from Donald Trump, he still kept his distance from him throughout this race. So he has, the endorsement there, the far right, liking that and liking his election integrity piece, but also, he's hitting the middle conservatives and keeping his distance from Donald Trump and not campaigning with him as well, which has, I think, and what others are saying, been huge in helping him to be this contender that he is. Of course, I'll be here all night bringing updates, and for now, live in Chantilly, I'm Lex Juarez. Back to you.
Yeah, Lex, you kind of broke up at the very last second there, but it's such an important point about that Hogan endorsement that he got earlier today, right? Governor Larry Hogan, Governor Ralph Northam of Virginia, and D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser have worked hand in hand on several different infrastructure projects, the pandemic throughout 2020 and 2021. So getting an endorsement from another DMV area governor is a very big deal. Lex Juarez there at Glenn Youngkin's watch party. We'll be checking.